The movie starts in the city of Bangkok, the city that's full of movement and noise. There's a guy named Luke Perdue riding his scooter real casually, and behind him, there's a tube rolled up inside it, a stolen painting worth like $1 million. Then, after a few seconds, two cars blocked him and cut off his path. One of the thieves, his name is Kasem, passes by. Luke hands over the painting and says it belongs to his boss. When Luke refuses to listen, Kasem signals his guys to start shooting. Luke, with his working brain, suddenly breaks his scooter and manages to escape from them. After a bit, he gets a phone call from one of his crew named Murph. Luke tells Murph he's not sure he'll make it to the airport on time. And right at that moment, a car suddenly stops in front of him, hits Luke, and knocks him off his scooter. Despite all the chaos and bullets flying around him, Luke runs to save his life. On the phone, Murphy tells him to take a train from Bangkok to Chiang Mai, and there, Murphy will be waiting for him with a plane. Luke manages to slip away from his chasers and gets on the train unharmed without a single scratch. When night falls, Luke, who's electrified from exhaustion, his eyes shut, falls asleep. In his dream, he's holding a golden mask, the mask of the sun god. He suddenly wakes up with a jolt and catches a glimpse of a woman whose looks are eye-catching, sitting across from him. It's clear she's been following him since he got on. The woman, super casually, tells him he talks in his sleep. Luke blushes a little and pretends not to notice, then asks her name. She replies in riddles, saying, "The less you know, the better." That makes Luke really suspicious of her, and he instantly feels like she's not just a regular tourist. She confirms his suspicion and says she's on a job, and her job is to recover rare and unique paintings like the one Luke has. She reveals she has bodyguards close to him and advises him to hand over the painting peacefully. Before Luke can even reply, one of her guards jumps him, and the woman manages to snatch the painting. But Luke chases her, and a fight breaks out between them, full of energy and fire. In the end, Luke manages to escape from the train. While running after landing safely, he calls Murph to come pick him up. The next day in London, Charlotte, Luke's sister, is in the middle of her divorce procedures. Her husband, Harold, seems like he's planning to take everything, even the apartment's rugs. But Charlotte doesn't care about the material stuff at all. She's focused on getting joint custody of their son, Thomas, who's 11 years old. Harold, all calm and cold, tells her to get a lawyer because he's not planning to give up his position ever. After that, Charlotte arrives at the museum where she works as an art curator. There, she hears a voice she hasn't heard in more than a year, a voice that's not unfamiliar, her brother Luke's voice. Shocked and surprised, she asks him why he suddenly showed up. Luke brushes it off like it's nothing and says he missed his little sister. Then he asks her about her son and her husband. Charlotte takes a deep breath and tells him Thomas is fine, but Harold turned out to be a cheater. Luke says, "You made me sad for you, but you're a masterpiece and he's a monkey." Charlotte replies, "This is not the time." Then Luke asks if she's happy with her boring museum job. Charlotte defends her job, but Luke reminds her of their old adventures with their dad Harrison, the famous archaeologist who used to search for treasures. Charlotte reminds him that was 10 years ago. Their dad passed, and she grew up, hinting that Luke still hasn't. Suddenly, Luke says there's like a crack in the painting of the Virgin Mary. Charlotte goes to look at it. Everything seems fine, but it turns out it was just a distraction. Luke is still stealing another painting. The alarm goes off, and Charlotte runs after him. Luke, in a hurry, tells her to get in the car, and he promises he'll return the painting. She's hesitant, but she gets in with him, and they take off quickly through the calm streets of London while dodging the cops. In the end, Luke drives the car inside a huge transport trailer. When Charlotte gets out, she's shocked to see that Luke is still working with their dad's old team. Then Charlotte yells at him for all these unnecessary actions, but Luke defends himself and says life needs risk and adventure, not the expected routine she chose. Murph tells them there's nothing behind the painting, like it's not the real goal. Charlotte, all confused, asks him what he means. Luke's face shows disappointment. He apologizes to his sister and tells her to take a breath, reminding her of her old habit when she used to hold her breath when upset. Luke sprays something in her face that knocks her out. An hour later, Charlotte wakes up and rushes to the museum. Her boss tells her the police are investigating her absence during the theft. She assures him she's not that dumb to come back to the crime scene. A little while later, she meets Interpol agent Jamal Abbas, who tells her that her brother Luke is involved in a string of major art thefts. Charlotte, genuinely shocked, says she didn't know anything. When he asks her about Luke's location, she promises to report it if she finds out. The weird thing is, the painting that Luke stole has already been returned. After that, Charlotte decides to visit her son, but Harold, annoyed, tells her that now she's an accomplice in art theft, and with that, she's not getting custody of their son. Thomas comes to the door, and Charlotte smiles and tells her son she'll be with him soon. Then she heads to Murph's place and calls out for Luke. There, she meets Deep, another one from their dad's old team. Charlotte then blames Luke angrily for making her lose her job. To calm things down, Owen Carver introduces himself and says he's the one funding their mission. Owen explains that he's dying of cancer and believes if the legendary Fountain of Youth is real, it might save him. Charlotte laughs sarcastically at his hope and rejects the idea, saying it's just another one of Luke's fantasies. But Owen reveals that he's the one who contacted Luke after being inspired by historical clues about the fountain, from Herodotus to the Mahabharata to the travels of Alexander the Great. Then Luke shares info about a 9th century Tibetan manuscript pointing to the fountain's location. Even though it's been hidden from humanity for ages, Owen adds that its location has been protected through generations by a secret group called the Guardians of the Strike. Luke admits he clashed with one of those guardians in Thailand. He believes if they reveal the fountain's location, their names will go down in history in golden letters. Murph cuts in and explains that back in the 17th century, 6 famous painters made a pact to reveal the fountain's location. Each of them hid a clue inside one of their paintings. Charlotte, with a challenging look, points out that El Greco's painting was stolen from the Gardner Museum in Boston in 1990. But Luke surprises her when he says he stole it and brought it back from Thailand. Deep adds that each of those paintings has invisible ink or fire marks on the back, with a Latin phrase that means 6 and 1. Each painting also has one marked letter, except for Rembrandt's painting, which seems to have no markings at all. Charlotte quickly catches on to the real reason her brother was looking for her. He needed her expertise to solve the puzzle. Luke doesn't deny it. Then Charlotte explains that Rembrandt was known for making exact copies of his work, and the one in the museum is probably fake. She goes back to blaming Luke for putting her custody battle with her husband at risk. Owen steps in and reassures her that he'll take care of the legal situation. Charlotte, reluctantly, tells them to look for a guy named Alfred Gwynn. He's a collector obsessed with Rembrandt's paintings. After that, Luke heads to the library to search and research, but suddenly he runs into that mysterious woman again. She introduces herself and says her name is Esme. Calmly, she warns him to stop looking for the fountain and says people will get hurt. Luke jokes and asks her for a kiss instead of all these warnings. Then, messing around, he says he's super touched that she's worried about his safety. Esme corrects him coldly. They don't actually care about him personally. After threatening him, she walks away and leaves him. The next day, Charlotte watches her son Thomas play the piano. Luke joins her and compliments Thomas's talent. He tells her they found the location of the real Rembrandt painting thanks to the info she gave. Charlotte accuses him of lying to Owen, but Luke defends himself, saying Owen was originally looking for their dad. But since he's gone, Owen reached out to Luke instead. Then he invites Charlotte to join the mission. When the recital ends, Thomas runs excitedly to his uncle Luke, eager to hear about his latest adventures. Luke tells him he's working on something huge and that he's inviting his mom, Charlotte, too. Later in the afternoon, the team heads toward the wreck of the Lusitania, a ship sunk during World War I. That ship was taken down by a German submarine, and one of its passengers was Alfred Vanderbilt, the proud owner of a Rembrandt painting he bought in 1900. Luckily, it's believed the painting is stored inside a super secure watertight safe on the ship. The team places huge floats on the front part of the wreck. Their goal is to raise the first-class safe to the surface. Luke is surprised when Charlotte decides to join him on the dive. After they suit up and gear up, they hop in a small boat and head to the wreck. Inside the Lusitania, Charlotte remembers their past trip to Ecuador when their dad was hunting for the Golden Sun God mask. Luke finishes the story, saying their dad never really found it. Charlotte cuts him off, saying their dad told her he did find it, but chose to leave it behind. Not everything in the world is about money. Up on the boat, Deep spots helicopters approaching. Murph tries to contact them by radio, but he realizes someone's jamming their signal. Meanwhile, deep inside the wreck, Luke and Charlotte find the steward's room. They find Alfred's safe, and just as Luke starts cutting into it to open it, Charlotte is super chill and pours herself a drink. Suddenly, Esme and her men sneak inside the wreck. Luke and Charlotte, while pulling out the Rembrandt painting, try to get back, but they're shocked to see Esme right in front of them. Charlotte asks her who she is. Esme acts offended and sarcastically says that Luke never mentioned her to his sister. He replies they were kind of busy. Then Luke takes advantage of a moment of distraction and fights with Esme's guards. As the tension rises, Esme threatens Charlotte's life and demands Luke hand over the painting. But before he can respond, the floats explode and a massive wave crashes through the ship. Luke and Charlotte barely survive, but Charlotte is fuming. She's pissed that Luke was willing to risk her life for a painting. The next day, Charlotte gets a video call from her husband. He says he got a 1-year consulting job offer in Japan from a billionaire named Owen Carf. He asks Charlotte to take care of their son, and of course, she's super happy to do it. Later, Luke comes to Charlotte to make peace. He admits that Esme is one of the guardians he met in Thailand, but Charlotte sees through his act and asks him about the weird chemistry between them. Chemistry no one could deny. Luke doesn't care and says she's the one attracted to him, not the other way around. Inside Deep, they say that the 6 letters they've collected, with the last one being V, don't make any sense. They tried matching them with over 500 cities, but nothing worked. Luke suggests trying star navigation, but that leads nowhere. Charlotte says that since the letters are in Latin, maybe the V actually stands for a W. Murph runs the analysis again. This time, the result is the word wicked. Charlotte recognizes that pattern and explains that the Latin word 6+ is a reference to King James VI, who ruled Scotland under that name, and was the first to rule England too. He's the one who commissioned the King James Bible, and also a lesser-known version called the Wicked Bible. Luke adds more, and Charlotte explains that in 1631, there was a famous typo in the 10 Commandments where the word not was left out, so the commandments said, "Thou shalt commit adultery." That typo made the word shalt look like a clue. Maybe it was a deliberate mistake, left behind to help someone find the path to the fountain of youth. Luke says that even though most copies of the Wicked Bible were destroyed, he knows a place that might still have one. But before he can reveal it, Jamal and his team of international investigators bust into the room. Jamal, who's been tracking stolen high-value art across 4 continents, expresses his deep disappointment in Luke and Charlotte for trashing their father's legendary archaeology reputation. Suddenly, the same thieves from Thailand attack the place and order everyone to get down. Luke thinks fast and offers Qasim all 5 paintings, except the last one, the Caravaggio, which he says is worth billions. He tells Qasim if he wants it, he's got to let his team go first. Qasim agrees, and Luke uses the moment of distraction to buy time for the cops to move in. In all the chaos, Luke escapes on a boat, and the team later hops onto Owen's private jet heading to Austria, the place with the last known copy of the Wicked Bible. During the flight, the siblings have a rare moment of understanding between them. When they land, an enthusiastic staff member welcomes them at the library and proudly points to Owen's generous donations. Murph stays outside to keep watch, while Luke, Charlotte, and Deep get authorized to enter a private wing that's closed to the public. The staff member takes the Wicked Bible out of a safe for them to look at. Meanwhile, Owen and Thomas are having a chill breakfast. Outside, Murph spots Esme and her crew entering the library. Through the earpiece, he warns Luke and the others that the woman is back, and this time, she's rolling deep. Luke heads outside to look for her, saying, "Where's that villain?" Only to find Esme right behind him. A tense convo turns into a full-on fight. In the end, Luke manages to trap her upside down, hanging head down, feet up. Murph warns Luke that all other exits are now being watched and tells him to go with Plan B. Deep sprays the staff member, knocking him out shortly after. Charlotte freaks out a little, but Luke reassures her he's done this before. Then Deep sets off a small charge that opens a path to the sewers so they can escape. Somewhere else, Owen and Thomas are leaving the restaurant, but a shady-looking guy tries to force Owen into a car. He hits them with a blow that knocks them both out cold. Back at the hotel, Thomas is excitedly talking about the fight Owen had with 2 thugs. Charlotte, worried, checks if he's hurt and then confronts Luke angrily. Her son had just been put in danger. At the same time, Jamal arrives at the crime scene and orders his team to put tracking devices on all of Owen's cars. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Murph discovers something huge. He found a repeating sequence of 1029. It's a number made up only of digits from 1 to 7, carved into the gold edges of the Bible's pages. The team's confused. It doesn't seem like math. Then Charlotte starts packing to leave, but Luke stops her. He says Thomas is safe now and reminds her of what their dad always said, that the reward is in the journey, not the prize. Still, she decides to leave. Outside, Thomas suddenly says to his mom, "We're looking at this the wrong way. It's not math." They go back in, and Charlotte asks Thomas to explain what he meant. Thomas reveals that the numbers represent musical notes. Murph checks them against old recordings and discovers the sequence is from an old song called Water in the Desert. It's a tribute to the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Murph overlays the painting clues onto a world map, and each one lines up with one of the wonders. The only one left is the pyramids of Giza. Right after that, the team flies to Egypt. On the way, Luke has a nightmare where he sees himself taking the golden mask, and there's someone next to him, maybe his dad, who turns to ash. He wakes up in shock. Meanwhile, Charlotte sits across from him, questioning Owen's wealth and accusing him of using force to build his fortune. She suspects he's just a scammer selling empty dreams and bottles. But Luke defends Owen and says all the guy wants is to live. Somewhere in the Vatican, Esme admits defeat to her boss, the Grand Master, and tells him some guy named Luke took the Bible and is close to solving the great mystery. He warns her that the power of the fountain has been hidden for thousands of years because it's too dangerous for humanity. Then he gives her a key and tells her, "It's time for you to become the hand of judgment." In a helicopter, Luke briefs the team on the situation. The Great Pyramid, built around 2600 BC, had hidden rooms. The pharaohs used them to stash their scrolls and secret knowledge. But recently, scientists used myography technology to scan the pyramid in 3D, and the scan revealed a hidden passage underneath. After a pause, Charlotte warns Luke not to take anything from the pyramid that doesn't belong to them. She also finally reveals that when she asked their dad why he didn't take the Golden Sun mask, he simply said, "There are some things you can't explain. You just have to experience them." An hour later, the team lands in Egypt. Owen greets a professor named Bashir, an expert in pyramids. Luke tells Deep and Murph to stay outside and keep watch. As soon as they enter the pyramid, Owen orders his guys to drill into the wall. Professor Bashir freaks out with rage. Owen doesn't care. He says he only has a year and a half left to live, and getting official permission would take way longer than that. He orders his men to take the professor away. Charlotte stands up for the professor and says maybe she can find a way or a key to open the chamber without drilling through the wall. But Owen isn't convinced. In private, Charlotte tells Luke how worried she is, but he just brushes it off. After the drilling, the team discovers a secret passage in a room with a massive cornerstone. Luke and Charlotte have no idea how to move the foundation stone to its base. Outside, Gamal's team arrives and a shootout starts. At the same time, Uzmi and her armed team reach the site. Inside, a frustrated Owen orders his men to break the stone, but Charlotte warns them not to. She tells Luke she's scared. Owen's getting more reckless, and the heavy weapons prove he's not going to listen to anyone saying. A heated argument breaks out between them. Meanwhile, Thomas is staring at the ancient walls, and suddenly he starts tapping out a certain rhythm, a powerful melody from water in the desert, the hidden song in the gold-edged Bible pages. The rhythm perfectly matches the carvings, like he's awakening something buried in the structure. Charlotte spots what looks like a gong mallet and hits it. A deep, echoing sound rings through the room. The huge foundation stone shifts, revealing a hidden moving platform. Without hesitation, Charlotte, Thomas, Owen, and Owen's right-hand man step onto it, descending into the heart of the pyramid. Outside, after seeing the officers being mercilessly killed, Dab and Murph jump in to help. In the chaos, Dab gets shot, and Murph rushes to her. Moments later, Uzmi shows up, firing in all directions. She takes out the attackers and saves Murph and Dab. Uzmi heads into the pyramid and runs into Gamal, who tells her he's on her side. Deep underground, Luke, Charlotte, and the others enter a pitch-black square room. Strange, reversed inscriptions cover the walls. Blessings or curses, angels or demons, and blessed is the one who drinks without thirst, but the thirsty betrays himself. In the center stands the ancient tree of life, dating back to Babylonian times. Charlotte picks up a piece of amber made from the bark of a tree tied to an old god named Nunit, also called the Burning Stone. It's said to protect the tree of life. She places the stone on the wall, and a second room opens. Inside, Luke spots a loose brick on the floor. When he twists it, a hidden spiral staircase activates, leading them even deeper. They arrive at a breathtaking underground chamber. Suddenly, the floor splits into 4 sections, revealing a glowing fountain of life beneath, but there's only a small amount of water. At the same time, Uzmi and Gamal finish off the remaining enemies inside the pyramid and head deeper into the secret chamber. Back with the team, Owen tells Luke to drink first to test if it's safe. Shocked, Luke realizes the whole journey was really about him. But then Owen reveals the truth. He was never sick. He planned the entire mission to gain power, control, and massive wealth. Without warning, Owen shoots Luke in the shoulder and orders him to drink. Luke steps toward the water, terrified, but as his blood touches it, the magical water begins to glow and surround him. Just before he drinks, he sees a reflection of Charlotte and Thomas, older and aged. He realizes that if he drinks, he'd basically be stealing their youth and killing them. So he chooses not to. Owen, confused, asks why. Luke just stares without saying a word. Then Owen slices his own arm and lets his blood drip into the fountain. The water reacts, and he drinks. Uzmi rushes in to lock the fountain using the key given her by the elder. She remembers his warning. If the wrong person drinks, the water will take the souls of their loved ones. But if the person only cares about themselves, the fountain will give them infinite power, power that could destroy humanity. For a moment, Owen becomes young, strong, and full of life, but then his body starts to twitch, his face twists, and he rapidly ages while screaming in agony. The ground begins to shake, and the fountain starts collapsing. As the place falls apart, the group escapes just in time. Charlotte, Thomas, and Luke barely make it. Owen's right-hand man slips and dies. Luke nearly falls too, but Uzmi grabs him and pulls him to safety at the last second. Outside, Gamal decides not to arrest them. Later, Uzmi tells Luke that some things are better left undiscovered. With a quiet goodbye, she kisses him on the cheek. In the end, Charlotte decides to join her brother on his journey to uncover lost relics. And that's the end of the movie. Catch you in the next recap. If you're vibing with the video, make sure to slam that like and spill your opinions in the comments. I'm hyped to read them. And yo, gotta subscribe so you catch all the straight fire recaps coming soon.